Why are any Ukrainian women still looking for an American husband?
Difference between American and European men. And in this sense, I think that there is a great combination of the goals of our women who want a family, who want traditional family, and American men who want a traditional family too, traditional roles of man and woman.
Welcome to another episode of the Vodka Vodcast with me, Connor Klein. And I'm delighted to have a matchmaker, a Ukrainian matchmaker who has appeared on this channel many times over the years, Yelena. We had a very interesting conversation back last summer, in the summer of 2023. I'll link that podcast up on a card down below in the video description. If you've missed it, go check that out, because the main topic back last summer was why are any Ukrainian women still looking for an American husband? Because most of them, they've either moved to European Union or somewhere else in Europe, or they're here in Ukraine, but why want to meet specifically Americans? So welcome back, Yelena.
Hello to everyone.
Great to see you again. Maybe just give us a little bit of update. Are you still based in Bulgaria? Because I mean, that's where you were last year.
Yes, in the same city, Burgas, near the Black Sea, like Odessa.
Exactly. I'm sitting out on my balcony again, just like last year. So I'm going to look out at the Black Sea. Well, you can't see it on camera, but just out here we have the Black Sea. So I guess you're probably just down this direction. But I guess it's, I don't know how many hundreds of kilometers it is. It's a good bit. Not that we can catch up in person so easily. So Yelena, it's been a year. If I remember from our conversation last summer, one of the things that many Ukrainian women, or at least the women who come to you, which is, I mean, it's a small percentage of women in general come to a matchmaker, like it's going to be a small percentage of American or European men come to a matchmaker. But the women who were coming, a lot of them, whilst they were already in the European Union, maybe they were there in Bulgaria, where you are, or they were in Germany. They had two main issues. One is like, and I think it was in Bulgaria, they didn't like really the local men so much, right, even though they had already moved. And the other thing was that, especially in a place like Germany or maybe in France, the women, they were not in big cities. A lot of times they were allocated to go live by the local authorities in a small village, and then it was actually hard for them to meet someone. Is that still the same case today? Is that there, or have they not figured out a way to move out of the village, or why are they still looking?
Some of them, they are already on the way. They are preparing documents. There are usually a lot of requirements to leave this place and to go to a big city, and a lot of difficulties. But some of them manage to do this anyway. And we still even a bigger problem with Ukrainian men and Ukrainian guys, because the girls who are left in Ukraine, who are living in Ukraine still, they use a dating site, Tinder, and they get even more frustrated because a big part of men is in the army now. And many women don't want to start these relationships because they don't know if they will see this man alive soon or not at all. Plus, some of men who are free now, not in the army, they are too Russian in relationship. That's not good for women too. So that's why there is even more demand for meeting a foreign man who is interested in building exactly a family. Because for having easy relationships or quicker relationships, everyone can find it on themselves, not through matchmaking agency.
Okay, so the reason why this, I mean, it's a small number of Ukrainian women at the end of the day who are going to come. This is not representative of the general population. It's women who go to a matchmaker. And they are obviously, the premise behind it is that they will emigrate and move to wherever the future husband is going to be based, right? So that's normally Canada and America. That when they try to date either in Ukraine or wherever they are in the European Union normally, or the United Kingdom, for example, here in Europe, that they are meeting men who are not really interested in starting a family, for example, and having a long-term relationship. They're more into casual relationships. And for these women who come, they're kind of more keen on the idea of having children and starting a family. Is that the case? Is that why they're maybe frustrated?
Many of them tell me that European men are like our women, but more to have fun, to have casual relationships. But usually, and quite often, it's not about building a normal, traditional family. As men are taking care of a family, and woman taking care of house or home. And what I hear from American clients when they come to us, they are more family oriented too, from my point of view. And several women who came to us recently and they have some experience in dating different foreign men, they confirmed my idea, my impression about difference between American and European men. And in this sense, I think that there is a great combination of the goals of our women who want a family, who want traditional family, and American men who want a traditional family too, and traditional roles of man and woman.
Okay, so what you're seeing is that the American clients who come to you are normally men who are looking to start a family and be the main breadwinner. Is that the case?
Yes, yes, and they usually want their woman to do something in addition to the home, to do some favorite job or for something for their development, but they want a woman to put priority to a family and to kids if they will have
Okay.
ones.
Okay, so they see the role of the woman being a bit different to maybe even the average man in America. I don't know anymore. Maybe it's just the men who come to a matchmaker in particular. They're looking to have a family and be the main breadwinner and then move the woman to the US and have the family there. Okay.
And I was recently surprised, but because I had several interviews with the American men in a row, and many of them told me, "Please, can she cook? I like a woman who can cook." And finally, I asked them, "What is wrong in your country where no one wants to cook or something?" They told it's a big problem, and even one of my current clients told his sister doesn't cook, and he says he sits at home. She's a housewife. She doesn't cook. Her husband comes from work and cooks in the evening for her and for children, for himself, and it's normal in the US. And many men don't like that who come to us.
It sounds like these American men are super dads. They're doing the cooking and cleaning and providing everything. I don't know. It seems like if the guy can cook as well, it seems like a good deal. But joking aside, I looked at, because you mentioned this when we spoke before the call, and I had a look, and it's true that in parts of Europe like Italy, Spain, France, Portugal, the rate of marriage is actually a good bit lower than the US in terms of how many marriages there are. But it's not that different in Germany, the UK, or Ireland with the US. But in those countries like Germany, the UK, there is more of a 50-50 culture, especially the younger generations. And so, yeah, I can see why women might struggle if that's what they're looking for, if they're looking for a guy to be the provider, to get married, right? That in Southern Europe, the man is kind of, I think there's more of a culture of the man being the provider, but they don't want to get married. And then in the other parts, well, they want to get married, but they don't necessarily want to be the complete provider, right? So I think that for those kind of women, they might be struggling. I can see that. I'm not really convinced that the Ukrainian women are cooking and cleaning all the time.
I also asked on my Facebook recently that many men, American men, want women to cook, but maybe I am mistaken. Maybe modern Ukrainian women don't like to cook. Please answer in the comments. And many women answered. And to my surprise, women who are happily married for many years, they all told that, of course, I cook. It's my responsibility. Or, of course, I cook because I like it. I like to give great food to my husband and to my children, and no problem with it. But women who are divorced or never been married until they're 40, 45, they told, I hate cooking. I don't like it. I'm not a slave to cook for him. So
Okay. So there's a division because in my experience, I don't see a big difference in Ukrainian women. I mean, under 30 is the demographic I'm most familiar with, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's about age difference and the generations, because my daughter doesn't like to cook, let's say. She's
there you go. How old is your daughter now?
15, 16 this
15.
year.
Oh, well, she's still young.
But she's
only 15.
closer to 18, and I expected her to like to cook more than she does now.
Well, there you see, she's just representative of the new generation of Ukrainians. That's I don't think that's a surprise at all. Obviously there's a war here, as I'm very well familiar with, since they almost got me with a rocket, some cluster munitions about 10 days ago, the Russians, here in Odessa. So how are your male clients going to meet these Ukrainian women? Are they talking on Skype all the time, or like we are today, or are they traveling to Europe? How is all that working?
First date happens usually over Zoom, and we provide this translation service if necessary. Then we exchange our clients' contact information if they like each other, and they talk directly. And there is automated translation in Telegram and Viber now if lady doesn't speak very good English. And then in 3-4 weeks of communication, I strongly recommend clients to meet in person because otherwise they will live in illusions and fantasies. And so men usually come to the place of woman, to her country, or I suggest clients to meet here in Bulgaria. It's also a good place if a man wants to have several dates. Usually he pays for the hotel for these women, for tickets, and Bulgaria is not so expensive. So he can do this and
Okay.
have several dates in a row.
Okay. And is Bulgaria a safe place to travel to?
Very safe now. We hope that it will stay safe. So I read news that the army of NATO is building base here too now. We'll see.
Yeah, I was referring more to petty crime or being scammed or being robbed. I wasn't really talking about whether Russia was planning to invade Bulgaria as well, but I don't think that's the next place they would attack in any case. Because the reason I bring this up is I had a look at what other matchmakers, like the ones that were doing a lot of business in Ukraine, we'll say, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And most of them have either completely stopped or they've switched their focus to other regions, and they're either pitching brides from like the Philippines or Thailand or from Latin America, like Colombia is a big one, and Mexico and places like this. And the big issue in Latin America for sure is personal security, because there's a lot of foreigners who get murdered. In Colombia in particular, Medellin, it's extremely dangerous. There's, I think, already 20. Last time I checked, there was well over 20 Americans who've been killed this year there. It's actually more dangerous to go as an American to Colombia than to come here to Ukraine with a war if you go as like a tourist. So that's one thing that I think is interesting, is like those matchmakers are focusing on these other places because, obviously the branding and there's a lot of different factors why matchmaking has been difficult for Ukrainian women with American men in the last few years, war being one of them. But it's actually a lot safer to travel to, say, Poland, or even to come here to Ukraine. It's definitely safer than going, it looks like statistically, than going as an American to Colombia at the moment, which is pretty wild. So that's good. I think that's another plus point for your clients, is that, yeah, even though the market, the business is all moving to these other places, but the reality is that, there's hidden dangers.
We also have women, so some part of women who are already in the US, in Canada, and I work with my partners whose girls are there. So I usually don't look only in my base, but also in the base of my partners, other trusted agencies I work with. So if I have a client and he wants someone in the US, I can help sometimes with it. Of course, we will have less of such women than outside of the US, but sometimes we can search like this. And as for Philippine women, I talked to American men. They tried sometimes, and sometimes they even didn't try, but they understand that sometimes getting a Philippine woman wife is easier if you're just ready to give her a stable life. But they also understand that it won't be about real love or family, because just her way to get out of Philippines.
Okay, so that was their perception, that it was kind of the green card girl. But Yelena, you could say the same about these Ukrainian women, surely. Aren't they trying to move to America for a better life?
No, I wouldn't say they are so much desperate. And I recently talked to one more client. He looked at our channel on Telegram and looked at the profiles that we have. And he also noticed that most of our women, 100%, they have higher education. They have a normal jobs. They make money even during the war. So they live quite independent life.
Okay, so you see it as a big socioeconomic difference compared to maybe other regions. I think that's a fair comment, because the economic development of, say, even Ukraine with the war, it's higher than the economic development in a lot of Southeast Asia. Not everywhere. I don't want to say everywhere is desperately poor. That's not true. But, if you're pitching Filipino brides from a small lost island somewhere where, it's extremely impoverished, then I can see that it's maybe a girl with a lot lower education than maybe here in Ukraine or the other part of this region, like in Poland or the Baltics and stuff. Same in parts of Latin America, especially when I look at Colombia. I didn't look so much at the matchmakers, but just in general, the feedback I get from guys is that the level of kind of culture, education in places like Colombia is not the same as it is here. There's other positives of Latin America. especially Brazil, that I love a lot. But yeah, I wouldn't say that the people are overall as cultured or as educated as here. So you see it as like they're not going out of desperation, but out of a preference, like they really want to have a family and kids and have a main breadwinner, and they're struggling to get that because either the guys don't want to get married, which is a big thing in Italy, France, Spain, the Club Med, Portugal, or the guys want to do 50-50. They don't want to be the main breadwinner. And that's definitely in Ireland or the UK more common today, or Germany for sure, where I live. So these are the issues that they're facing. And it's not all women, obviously. It's actually just a small percentage, but that's why they come to you. And, I guess the corresponding type of American man is probably a good match in that case, yeah?
And not only older women, and not only women who are divorced, and not only women with children. Sometimes we get very young girls who just want this type of life and with a man, and they just put it in their profile. I'm looking for a man who is ready to be the head of family. I'm ready to give him comfort, kids, and so on. So, and they are young.
How young?
25, 30, 35, like this.
That's a big difference. Like 25? That's suspicious to me. Like, why is a 25-year-old so desperate that she's going to a matchmaker? 35, I understand. Women have a biological clock. And if she wants to have children, if she's 35, then she really needs to to figure it out, because otherwise it's going to become harder and harder, right? So that's a biological need. But 25, that's a bit strange.
One of such ladies, I made her also video on my channel with her. She's a model. She's also working like a teacher of English, her main job. And she's living in China. So she doesn't see good men next to her. She doesn't want to get married Chinese men, and
okay.
she wants such a person, such a man in the US, for example. Other women too of this age, I just can't tell you about everyone now, but I see that they 20, 25, 26 sometimes coming to us.
But that's a very particular case. I mean, the woman is in China and she doesn't like Chinese men. The question is, why is she in China?
Because of her work. She studied there and now works and makes good money.
There isn't much more we can say, I think, right now. I think the video from last year that I'll link up above in the card down below in the description, I think we already covered most of the topics. But it's great to have a little bit of a catch-up and see how things have developed. And to understand some of the difficulties that some Ukrainian women have in dating in the European Union in particular, and why they might want to look beyond, and particularly to North America, to the US and Canada, obviously. So where can people find you, Yelena? I guess I'll put the links down below in the video description. Normally we give people an incentive. Is there any incentive to go? As
always, for people coming from you as a friend of Connor, I will give one bonus date. Of course, if man is behaving properly on the dates and building a good reputation for me, while how he behaves with women.
Okay, great. Well, anyways, so all the guys who are watching this who are interested, I guess this is nearly exclusively for Americans and Canadians. Down below in the video description, go and check out Yelena. If you are a guy that wants to be the main breadwinner and get married, provide for a family with a Ukrainian woman, then could be a good match for you. So great. Yelena, I hope one day soon we will meet up again here in Odessa, in Ukraine, in more peaceful times. Odessa is missing you. It's waiting for you here. And hopefully that will be soon. It's a beautiful weather. Just I'm looking out at the sea. As you can look at the sea from the other side up here from Bulgaria. So hopefully, Ukraine's victory won't be too far away, but we got to be realistic. It's probably going to be a while yet. So take care, and maybe we will do another video next year on the channel and have an update again. Brilliant. Okay. Bye-bye.
SAR Experience.